Josh is a man who is passionate about helping other people and communities by helping themselves. Josh is my mentor. He is one of the most dynamic speakers and trainers that you will ever meet. Nothing like setting him up for the next 20 minutes or so. But Josh has done things as incredible as training 14,000 volunteers and local supporters for the 2008 Democratic National Convention. I've also partnered with him in helping the state of Ohio and watched him turn a bunch of really boring workforce and education professionals that were about ready to fall asleep at their tables into a bunch of really exciting people that were ready to reinvent their system. Josh is my board member. As my board member, I am proud to have him on the board. He was named one of Denver's 40 under 40. He was named one of the nation's top 10 trainers under 40. He serves on my CWDC board, on our executive committee. He serves on the Governor's Opportunity Scholarship Initiative board. He is the chair of our state youth council and is the champion of our education and training initiative. Josh brings his expertise as the CEO of the Center for Work Ethic, as the past chair of the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals, and as an author, a trainer, and just one of the most incredible people you will ever meet. He keeps us moving, shaking, and never accepts mediocre. And so with that, I would like to welcome Josh, but not only Josh Davies, CEO of the Center for Work Ethic, Josh Davies, Rich Warner's frat brother, to the stage.
If that doesn't scare you enough. All right. I have no idea who wrote that, so thank you very much, Steph, for all of those fine comments. Well, much like you, I get to spend my days talking with employers. I get to travel around the country, and what I find is there's an interesting dynamic that's out there right now. I call this, as we were talking, Melanie and I, this idea of back to the future, right? Where we're coming around kind of a place where we think we may have been before. I know a lot of people ran out for the break. I think they got confused about today's date. All right, so just for those of you who are not paying enough attention, it's not until October 21st, 2015 that Marty McFly comes back to the future, okay? So if you're looking for him on his hoverboard out there, it's going to be another 3 weeks, people, all right? So just come back in. We'll get some things started. At the Center for Work Ethic Development, we travel, we talk with people, we talk with employers, and I go around the country and I ask them, what can we do to better prepare your workforce? What do you need? What are you looking for? And I hear over and over again the same thing. Here's what employers tell me. Can you get people to show up on time, do what they're told to do, and pass a drug test? That's really all we're looking for, right? If you can get us those three things, we'll probably train up and hire anybody we're looking for, right? In fact, when you look at the research, we talked to 1,000 hiring managers. We asked them to list a whole series of different criteria or traits that they thought were most important in the hiring process. I've got several listed on the two screens here. One of these 6 items finished dead last. Any idea which of these 6 items on the screen finished dead last? I'm sorry, what was that? Education? We're in a time when we're trying to educate everyone, get everyone the skills and everything that they're looking for. How many people think education was the thing employers were least interested in? Thank God only one of the students put their hands up. That's good, that's good. In fact, education was 6th on this list. It was the least important thing that employers were looking for. What do you think was number 1 in terms of what employers were looking for? Attitude. Attitude finished number 2. Okay, just as a quick hint, did Steph tell you what my job title is? Okay, I'm the CEO of the Center for Work Ethic Development, which is not too surprising then that the statistic I lead with shows that employers were saying that work ethic was the number 1 trait that they were looking for. Here's the problem. When you start to survey people about work ethic, it starts to get pretty depressing. In fact, we asked employees how strongly they believe in work ethic. Do they very strongly believe in work ethic, that whatever we're doing is worth doing perfectly? And what we did then is in theme with everyone else here, we broke it down by generations. All right? That's what we do at the center. We do these kinds of research projects, all right? So let's start with the far left of this graph. Older boomers. I won't point you out in the room. You know who you are, okay? Almost 3/4 of you strongly agreed with that statement. Then younger boomers dropped down, lower, lower, and lower, and for the first time, the entering workforce, the millennials, less than half of you think that you have strong work ethic. All right? This is kind of depressing. All right? In fact, people have been writing stories all the time about the millennial generation, the me generation, right? All they ever want to do is take selfies on their phone. All right? That's all they're looking for, right? In fact, just the other day, I was in Portland, Oregon. I was wandering down the streets of Portland. There was this beautiful restaurant outside. There was this couple out there on a date. Beautiful restaurant, beautiful night out. This couple was there together. And you know what they were doing? They had their phones out, right? They're just staring at their phones. They're right there at this little intimate romantic table together. So I couldn't help but take a picture of these two because it really illustrates oh, these aren't 20-somethings. Right? Here's what you hear about millennials, right? It's the most narcissistic generation in American history, right? We hear that all the time. Here's the problem. This quotation isn't from that Time magazine article. This is from Tom Wolfe's critical piece in 1973 titled The Me Generation, talking about baby boomers entering into the workforce. The reality that we're facing here, people, isn't that there's something uniquely different about this next generation to come in. In fact, I think it's best summed up in this quotation, right? Our youth now, they love luxury, bad manners, contempt for authority, right? All these awful things. Here's the problem. Socrates said that. Okay? The problem isn't with youth today, right? The problem is with today. We've got a lot of other factors that we find going in, right? The problem with youth is that the older we get, the more we forget how stupid we were when we were 15, right? The fact that some of us are even alive on this planet is amazing. What we have to do then is figure out what we're going to do. And so today I'm going to do a very brief snapshot about some of our research. At the Center for Work Ethic Development, we are the nation's only institution focused on the research and advancement of work ethic. We work with organizations across the country to help better prepare people to enter in the workforce, not just those first-timers, but people who are transitioning at different stages of their career, even veterans as we go there. So let's talk about the new paradigm, how we got here, and what are some things you could do to help your organizations, yourself, and the employers that you work with better prepare and get people with these critical skills. So let's talk first about the realities of work. Work is changing, all right? We've moved very quickly from this 20th century paradigm, where at one time it was a command and control, top-down structure, do as I'm told, this is how we're going to do it. It's about systems, it's about process, it's about right brain thinking. And what you're finding is led by the creative industries. Almost everyone now is shifting into this 21st century paradigm, right? Even Cargill's getting on the bandwagon, right? When you know food producers are on board, that's when you know things are really shifting, okay? 21st century expectations aren't about command and control. It's about ownership. It's about passion. It's about what you bring to the table, right? We've heard employers talk about this. We want people who care about the work, about what they do, and about the people that they do it with. The challenge is we're seeing less and less of that. Managers will tell you they think that the number one characteristic that new hires need, not just entry level, but all the way to senior managers, right, is this strong work ethic. How prevalent do you think that is in America today? Depressingly low. 15% of those same managers believe that their candidates that they hire, the ones they hire, have strong work ethic. In fact, if you ask them, let's go to an interview scale. How important is it to demonstrate work ethic during an interview process? Okay? 93% of all managers think it's very important, right? Show up on time. Not a bad idea, right? Wear the appropriate clothing. Be prepared, right? Those kinds of things. We then asked job seekers, how important is it, do you think, to demonstrate work ethic in the interview process? 16% thought it was very important. The number one reason we got for that, they said, quote, it's just practice. It's not like I have the job. This gap right here is the reason why so many people are having a hard time getting employed. They don't even know what they don't know, which is the biggest problem that we're encountering. Because what we've done for so long is we've looked at the three circles of job readiness and career readiness, and we've focused only on technical and academic skills. We've let these foundational behaviors just kind of assume that they were there. And when you do that, you end up in this fine quadrant called potential. Why do we call it potential? Because that's how every former employer refers to you, right? Man, I would say this. He had such great potential. Someday, he's going to be a superstar. It's just not with us, Tom. I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? It's just not going to happen with us, right? The problem is, if we focus on foundational behaviors and technical and academic behaviors, but not the technical skills, right? If we don't get them those skills, then they end up as nice people. She is so much fun. I love to have her around the office. She's so great, right? Wouldn't you say that, Angie? Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. If you put Angie on my team one more time, I will kill you, okay? She's driving me crazy. Now, if you just have foundational behaviors and technical skills, but you don't do the academic part, you end up with the bull. People will get anything done, but they'll burn every resource. No one wants to work with them. They will totally destroy your organization. Only with all three do you get that career-ready center that you're looking for. The problem being is that the state we're in today, we're not preparing people with the foundational behaviors that we need. All right? Let's talk about how we develop work ethic. Typically, work ethic gets developed in one of 4 different areas. For most of you, where would you say you got your work ethic? Family, at home, right? Growing up, right? As you think about the quality time that you spend around the dinner table every night talking with... Okay, it was probably a fantasy then too, right? But the reality is most parents don't have this reality now. In fact, when you ask parents and you survey them across the country and you ask, how many hours a week do you spend in meaningful dialogue with your children? Not, where are we going, who's eating, where's your sister? Meaningful dialogue. How many hours per week do you think the typical parent spends in meaningful dialogue? Half an hour. Wow, real optimistic crowd here, I can tell, right? Anyone longer than a half hour? An hour? Wow, that seems good now, doesn't it? Twice as much time. Anyone going more than an hour? 2, 10. Right? Would it surprise you the typical parent spends 15 minutes a week in meaningful dialogue with their children, right? Right? That's the reality. Scarier than that, a great new study came out tracking the amount of time that parents spend having their children do chores, all right? So let's do a quick show of hands from the students because I need you to pay attention for me. How many of you do chores around the house right now? Okay, almost all of you. Awesome, all right? Why is that so great? When we asked parents, 82% of them said they did chores growing up. Honestly, I'm probably like you. I didn't realize it was an option, right? It's not like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? The scary part, we asked those same parents, do you have your children do chores at home? 28% said yes. It almost flipped entirely. A brand new study just came out 2 weeks ago from the University of Mississippi that tracked over 20 years and found the greatest predictor of future success was doing chores growing up. So next time that your kids complain, let them know truly you're doing it for them, okay? So family isn't talking as much, they're not having them do chores. So we're now going to our surrogate parents' school. How are our schools doing at teaching work ethic? They suck, right? Why? Because it's not on any standardized tests, right? We're in an era of accountability where everything is about the test. And the problem is you combine accountability with decreased funding. This right here is a chart I do not expect you to memorize. Don't worry about it. All you need to know is that the red numbers are states that have per pupil spending declines over the last 5 years. Almost 3/4 of them. Don't worry, Colorado's right in the middle at almost negative 10%. All right? The blue ones at the bottom are the states that have increased spending. Only 2 of them are in double digits, one of them at 26.2% up. And that is North Dakota. All right? I'm going to tell you right now, all 8 of those kids are getting a fantastic education. It is really, really good. I'm just kidding. There are far more than 8 students in North Dakota. But what is driving that is the oil and gas boom that happened over the last 5 years in western North Dakota, which has driven their property taxes, which feeds 100% of the school funding in North Dakota. The reason I point these numbers out is because when you have decreased resources and increased pressure, something has to give. So what classes are we teaching less and less in high school? Career and technical education, marketing, DECA, drafting, the places where we typically have learned a lot of that work ethic in the past. Every other type of curriculum over the last 10 years, you can see here, 20, has seen increases or flat spending with one exception, and that is career and technical education, the place where we learn most of those behaviors. So it's not happening at home. It's not happening at school. The really disturbing trend that we start to see is where it's also not happening, and those are with our first jobs. Our first jobs used to be a place where we learned so many great lessons. Right? Growing up in Nebraska, You had sort of two choices, right? Fast food or detasseling corn. And I'm going to tell you, you do not want to detassel corn, all right? But those first jobs you learn very quickly. Very important skills. Show up on time, teamwork, get together with other people, and youth employment is at staggeringly, historically low numbers. This chart right here is one of my favorites, and how I know that my wife loves me because this is one of my favorite charts, okay? This tracks youth employment in the United States, 16 to 24-year-olds from 1948 all the way to the present. The blue line is youth employment. That's not the cool part about this chart. The cool part are the gray bars. The gray columns each indicate a recession. And what you see happen is after every recession happens, youth employment goes down, comes up, goes down, comes up, goes down, comes up, until the dot-com bust of 2001. That's where we see youth employment rates drop and never recover before the 2007-2008 recession. And now we are at levels we have never seen before since we started tracking youth employment. Even worse than that is the place some people are like, oh, that's fine, I don't want my kid to work, but you're going to get a summer job. Summer employment is even more drastic. Since 1980, you've seen a precipitous decline. Now less than 45% of all youth looking for summer employment are able to find it. We're raising not just one, but now two generations of youth who have never worked prior to going into their career job, right? And the problem is all the lessons that you learned by what not to put in the fryer and how not to get drunk and come into work, they're learning on their career jobs. And as a result, it's harder and harder to retain and keep some of these folks as they come through. Now, the final place that's going to teach us about work ethic is pop culture. All right? I mean, let's be honest. Right now, we're in a society that praises hard work, right? Just like this, right? Well done is better than well said, which was great when the U.S. was funding these campaigns during the Great Depression. I think this poster probably better encapsulates what we think about when it comes to giving 100% at work today. All right. Mostly, I'm really worried about this conference tomorrow. I'm just going to tell you that right now. All right? So, we're not getting it at home. We're not getting it at school. We are not working in jobs anymore. And pop culture is celebrating get rich quick, win the lottery, get on reality TV. We asked family, parents, and kids, what family best represents work ethic in America today? The Kardashians. That's the world we're living in, all right? If you don't know who they are, consider yourself lucky, and please do not ask your neighbor and do not Google them, okay? The reality is that's the place that we're entering. Those are the workers that we're dealing with today, right? You saw a little bit of this graph before, right, where you asked young people coming into the workforce to rank themselves on different characteristics. This is one of my favorite slides, so I'll show it to you a second time. Ask people entering the workforce to rank themselves. Do you consider yourself tech savvy, all these different things? What you can't see on there, tech savvy 35, loyal to their employers 89%. Hardworking 86% is how young people entering the workforce describe themselves. It then went to the HR managers and asked the HR managers to rank young people in their workforce, and here's what they said. Loyal to their employer, 1%. Hardworking, 11%. This disconnect is happening because people entering the workforce, young people, older people, people entering in second jobs, veterans coming back from the military, don't have the same experiences that we once had. It's not a generational difference. It's a work ethic deficit that's hitting every sector across America. The good news is there are some things we can do about it. So, in the very short period of time I have left, I want to give you 3 different tips that you can take back to your employers, to your own employees, maybe even to your kids. Please just don't tell them where you got it from, okay? So let's start with this very first one. Can I get everyone to stand up for me? Now, take your 2 hands straight out in front of you, put your palms facing each other. All right, simple enough. Cross your hands over, link your hands together. Now, we twist underneath, put our 2 fingers up on either side of our nose, right? And then we untwist. Okay, this is not going as well as I hoped. Rich, you told me they were smarter. What happened? All right, let's try this again, all right? Shake it out. We're going to try a second time. Second time's always the charm, right? Maybe it's the third, all right? Hands down, palms facing each other, right? Cross over, link your fingers together, right? You've got a fist here. This is pretty simple. Underneath, fingers straight up, and untwist. Okay, how many of you have been able to get this? Like 3. How many of you were able to get it twice? So you're like, I just got lucky once. I couldn't even do it the second time, right? Here's the problem. I'm telling you the outcome. You're watching me do the steps, but I'm not sharing anything with you. I'm not being explicit in my instructions because there are certain tricks, certain tips you need to know, but I'm not letting you know. Why? Because this is funny to see. I'm going to tell you that right now. So let's try this. Let me give you a little bit of advice, all right? Hands out. Cross your arms over. Which arm is on top? Right? For some of you, it's going to be right. Some of you, it's going to be left, right? The key here is, without telling you, we're all going to have different ways. So let's take our right arm over our left arm. And again, your palms are facing each other. Now you're going to link your fingers up together. Which thumb is on the bottom? Most of us, regardless of whether or not we're right or left-handed, are right-hand dominant. So our right hand will immediately go to the bottom. The key here is to put your left hand and your left thumb at the bottom. How does that feel? Awkward, weird, like change. Ooh. Crazy metaphor, right? All right, your hands come up underneath. This is the next and final important step. You're going to slowly raise your 2 pointer fingers. Okay? Now, if you have already uncrossed them and they are in a field goal position, that is not good, okay? That is not 3 points. You want it to be in a V. You'll know you're getting close because your 2 fingernails are facing each other. Then, you put them on either side of your nose, and you untwist. All right? Some of you right now are like, yeah, I got it. Some of you are like, that still did not work for me, Josh. The joy of this, I love, like you'll be at the reception tonight, someone will be in the corner, they'll be like, hold on, I think I got it. Right? But you have to be explicit. You can't just tell people, oh, have good work ethic. It doesn't work that way. You have to be explicit. At the Center for Work Ethic Development, we developed a whole training program around explicit behaviors. We call them the A behaviors: attitude, attendance, appearance, ambition, accountability, acceptance, and appreciation. Basics, and you explain each one. We don't need to make it easy to remember, so we started them all with A, and then we tell people to bring their A game to work. Nice, very clever, right? All right, next thing we need to do is use the 1% approach. When we talk about how far some people are from where the expectation is, when they see where they are today and where they need to be, they're like, that's nice, I'm going to go somewhere else, right? This leads to a lot of the problems we have with turnover in organizations, right? They come in, we hire them, and then they just leave. So we talk about the 1% approach. How can you be 1% better today than you are tomorrow? Who can't be 1% better? All right? Just that little bit. All right? And what you find is you get that incremental change. You get the power of compound interest. But even a little change can make a big difference. You don't believe me? All right? Can somebody read this sentence out loud to me? All right? I love cooking, my children, and pets. What difference does a little change make? Prison. Okay? That's what difference a little change makes when I tell you that I love cooking, my children, and pets. Okay? Little change can make a big difference. Finally, I need you all in this room to become supermodels, which is why we're only having celery for the next break, okay? Water and celery. Right? No, you don't have to be a supermodel, be a photographer. You have to model the behavior you want to see. And you can't do this bare minimum, right? Because in closing, let me tell you this. You can't get by with the littlest possible and assume that people aren't watching you. Everyone in this room is being watched all the time. Parents, you know it instinctively with your kids when they start saying things that you wish they didn't. Employers, you know it when your employees start doing things and you're like, where did they get that idea? And you look in the mirror. The reality is, even in our communities, we have to become the models we want to see, and not just regular models, but supermodels. So everyone do me a favor. Take one hand, raise it above your head. Wiggle your fingers for me. All right? Why is this so important? Because when we go back to the future, what you need to know, put your thumb and your forefinger right here. Get a little okay sign. Show that okay sign to everybody around you. Nice. Yeah. Now take that circle for me on that okay sign. Put it right here on your chin. Okay? Now take a quick look around the room and see how many people have their hand on their cheek and how many have it on their chin. Why did you almost all put your hand here? And don't worry, I saw this group. Yeah. Like I wasn't watching, okay, right? Why do you almost all put your hands here? Because that's what I did, right? You can't say one thing and do something else. Everything we need to know about preparing people to enter the workforce is not about generations. There's some nuances, especially when you manage people. But at the end of the day, you got to go back to the future, back to the basics. Do what you tell people you expect them to do, and do it yourself. All right? Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your conference.